This episode is brought to you by the Chronicle Protocol, a cost-efficient, transparent, and decentralized Oracle. Chronicle has developed a next-generation Oracle primitive called Scribe, which reduces Oracle gas fees on L1s and L2s by over 60%. You'll hear more about Chronicle later in the show. This episode is brought to you by Toku. If you are planning to launch a token, already have a live token, are granting employees or contractors vesting token awards, or are just trying to figure out how to take care of taxable token events for your team, from easy-to-use token grant award templates through tracking vesting to managing tax withholdings, make it simple today with Toku.
Welcome back, everyone, to Empire. We have a very special guest, which she has been on the pod, but this was before my time.
It's been a
Casey,
while.
It's been a while, but Casey, it's great to have you back.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So for introductions, tell us what you do at Blockworks.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a senior reporter. I cover policy and regulation, which
is really not an interesting topic in crypto at all.
Not at all. Well, I was going to say for the first year, there was nothing to write about. For the last year and a half, there's been a ton to write about. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a contentious area of the industry. Everyone wants to go on record saying that they welcome regulation, and we'll see how it all plays out.
That's awesome. Well, I hear you've been camping out in the Southern District of New York as of this week.
Yes.
So tell us what's going on there.
Yeah. I'm based in Manhattan. Sam Bankman-Fried's trial is happening in the Southern District of New York, which is downtown. It's actually down the street from Trump's New York Supreme Court trial. So the security has been absolutely insane. So much press in the entire area. It's pretty wild. But I am there for Sam's trial. It started on Tuesday. I've gotten there before 6 a.m. every morning. I think the first morning I showed up a little before 4:30, and I was not the first person in line. So that kind of shows you what the interest has been, and people from the general public and also media trying to get in and see what's going on.
That's a while. So what's getting more attention, the Trump or the SBF trial?
I would say in terms of, so the media camps out. They have, and by media, I mean like the news trucks with the cameras and the crews, and they have these big tents. So they can camp out across the street. There's like barriers on how close they can get to try to get photos, in Trump's case, of Trump walking through, but the attorneys and everything. In Sam's trial, because he's currently in custody, when he comes to court every day from Brooklyn, where he's in jail, they transport him underground. Right. So he doesn't actually walk past the photographers, but Trump does. So in terms of the media camp out, I would say Trump definitely has more interest there, just because you'll actually see him. But on the Sam side, there are a lot of cameras. There's a ton of people just trying to get photos of his attorneys or any witnesses that might walk by. And they're selling for like $500 each. So if anyone has some free time and wants to head down to Eye, then maybe it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, let's start so who's actually showing up? Is it mostly crypto reporters, crypto media, or is it just the full gamut?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say mostly crypto, but there are a lot of mainstream outlets too. Bloomberg, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. The New York Times actually flew someone here from California to cover the trial. They're staying here for a few weeks. Monitoring everything. And there's a few other publications, The Verge, Wired. It's this intersection of tech, white collar crime, finance, and crypto. So it is kind of fun to see some different beats converge. And there are also just some general court reporters, people that just cover crime in the Southern District. So it's a fun little mix for sure.
Got it. And so basically you have to get there like at 4 or 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning to be actually, because they limit the number of people that can go into the courtroom.
Yes. So like I said, I got there a little before 4:30 on Tuesday, and I think I was like third in line. I wasn't even first, which is pretty wild. But yeah, it's all first come, first serve basis. You line up, you go through security. You're not allowed to bring, unless you're an attorney or a clerk or something, you're not allowed to bring a cell phone or any electronics. So like AirPods, computer charger, computer, anything. It all has to get checked in through security. And then you wait in line until a marshal tells you where to go. The actual courtroom, it kind of surprised me. It's not that big. And there are a lot of reserved seats for counsel, for defendant's family. Sam's mom is there with a few people that have been sitting with her every day. I don't know exactly who they are. But these are all seats that are reserved, that media cannot sit in and the public cannot sit in. So it's pretty limited in terms of how many seats there actually are for the public.
Got it. So let's, I'd love for this episode to be really just a recap of everything that's been going on this week. As I understand, there was, the panel got selected this week, including, the jury, including I think there's one from Insight Partners, which is an investor, but she wasn't part of the deal team, and she said there's no conflict, which I find bizarre.
Yeah, she was actually dismissed, which is good.
Good.
Yeah, but so I saw the whole selection process. That's what started on Tuesday. I've never been called for jury duty, but those who have know that it's not a super fun process. Everyone was trying to get out of it. So what they do for these massive cases that are a little bit more public, there's been a ton of media coverage. They're expecting it to last 6 weeks. That's on a typical case for a typical jury. So they do bring in a pretty big pool because they know that so many people will have to be weeded out. So they do it in batches, about 50 at a time. The judge will go through and ask a series of questions that the prosecution and the defense have agreed to. And this is everything from what do you do for work to have you ever invested in crypto? They even asked if people had seen that 60-minute story that aired last Sunday, the Michael Lewis book. A lot of people had seen it. So that was something that I assume the defense wanted to know about. They ask about knowledge of crypto, all sorts of stuff, just to kind of weed out people. Each side gets a set number of vetoes for no reason. So they can just say, I do not want number 5, and that's fine. Obviously, they can't do that for everyone. Right. So it's kind of a back and forth process. Some people immediately get out if, there's a medical condition. Sometimes they, have childcare. There's all sorts of reasons that people can tell the judge about, and the judge will determine whether or not they're dismissed based on that reason. Someone said that she has 2 toddlers and she can't get childcare. Someone lived, I don't know, a 3-hour commute or something that was just going to be completely unfeasible for her to come for 6 weeks.
Was there a common denominator of things that would immediately, well, not immediately, but would dismiss you, or people that,
Yeah, that's a good question. One person stood up and said, I think the question was about conflicts. So I think he stood up to say that he had travel booked at some point in November, which the trial is expected to go around until Thanksgiving. So he said that he might not be here. And then he added that he doesn't know a lot about crypto, but everything he's heard since he learned about it has been bad, and he doesn't like crypto. So that kind of immediately got him out. 2 people actually mentioned Bernie Madoff, kind of just offhanded. I don't know anything about this case, but I know about Bernie Madoff, and I know people are comparing Sam to him. So that's the bias that I'm walking into this situation with. They were immediately kicked off.
Not vetoed, just the judge dismissed them.
Yes. Actually, we don't really know. A lot of this happens in sidebar. Some of it will get published with the transcripts, but not all of it is said
public,
in open court. Yeah.
And you can't, you don't know who's being vetoed versus who's being just dismissed by the judge.
Well, we know who will not come back for the next round, I guess.
Right. Yeah. But you don't know if it was vetoed by the defendant.
Exactly. We don't know. We can assume.
You can assume.
And there are cases where the judge does it retroactively.
Got it.
What else?
And so that was jury selection has already been established. They already found.
Yes. Okay. So that took all day Tuesday and then most of the morning on Wednesday. One potential juror actually was married to someone that represents FTX in the bankruptcy lawsuit, ironically. So they were dismissed. But of the jury we're left with, so there's 18 total. It's 12 that will sit on the jury and then 6 alternates. There are 9 women and 3 men of the 12. It's a lot of diversity. There's a pretty diverse range of education too. It goes all the way from high school to, I believe there's a few masters. Someone has a nursing degree, a couple nursing degrees actually. There's a librarian. There is a special education teacher. There is one former banker. So that's, I believe, the only kind of financial connection. All different ages. I think it goes from like 22 to 70 something.
Yeah. Presumably, if you had used FTX US, in this case, like you would have been dismissed.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if then you're a creditor, and like so, there's no bias.
Yeah. So those were all kind of part of those general questions. At the very beginning, when it was a pool of like 100 people, they asked everyone if anyone had ever invested in crypto. I think like 3 people rose their hands, and
out of 100.
Yeah, okay, it was folks, not a lot.
So, folks, we're still early.
We are very early, very early.
Gosh, 3 out of 100.
And they were not necessarily the most savvy, because the judge then asked if they had made or lost money, and every single one had lost money. So,
gosh,
need some more trading advice.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, my understanding in all this is really just based off of suits of what happens in these courtrooms. And I assume it's like more boring than Harvey Specter showing up.
I gave myself a little mini law degree in the month leading up to this trial. So
okay. So this was your first time actually going into one of these things?
It was my first time covering a trial in person. Yeah.
Okay.
We've covered the Ripple suits. We've done other legal stuff, but actually in the courtroom. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is criminal, right? And the other ones are civil. Yeah.
Yes.
So the jury was selected. Any highlights? I mean, of course, you mentioned the diversity of the panel and whatnot, but as a like an aside, like during all this process, I mean, people should remember that the reason I think SBF was put into custody is because he was trying to do like witness tampering, meaning like reaching out to FTX employees that he thought were like, being put into witness protection and whatnot.
Yes.
Look, it's a very high profile case, but out of curiosity, how are the jurors like protected from being bribed, being reached out to? I mean, I'm curious if you know how that works.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. In some cases, they're sequestered. In this case, they're not. They are given very strict instructions from the judge not to consume any media. They're not allowed to read any books, podcasts, news, anything relating to the trial, which I'm sure is pretty difficult. I mean, if you turn on the local news in New York City right now, like people are talking about it.
I mean, you've got to imagine these people are like Googling like FTX, right? And then like the way the algorithm works, guys, is you're going to be retargeted. And so in today's
also
world.
they're not allowed to speak to anyone about it. So like if you come home from jury duty to your wife, you can't tell her you're not supposed to tell her what you did all day, which in my head just seems difficult and also unlikely. I feel like they have to.
I'm not really curious if divorce rates go up for people that have been selected.
Yeah, that is another question. They ask every potential juror who they live with and if they have children. So some people live with spouses, some people live with boyfriends or roommates, and that's all part of it too.
Okay.
It's funny. It's funny the stuff that they consider, and to kind of try to imagine what the prosecution's thinking, like who might be someone that would really find Sam guilty, or on the defense side, who they think would be more sympathetic. There's a lot of psychology that goes into it.
Yeah, definitely. So that happened. And from there, what has been going on, I guess?
So then it is opening statements, which is, I would say, closer to like the TV version of a courtroom drama. It's not evidence. So nothing they say the jury can take as fact, but they can say whatever they want, and they can pretty much speak as long as they want. The prosecution, I think, went for about 25 minutes. The defense was a little bit longer, maybe like 35 minutes. Prosecution goes first. So in a criminal case, the prosecution, the government, they're the one that have the burden of proof. So they have to present the case beyond a reasonable doubt to the jury. The defense legally doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to present a case. They don't have to cross-examine. They don't have to do anything. So the government starts. Their opening statement was pretty on message with what I think most of us would have expected. They said the word stole a lot. They kept saying that Sam stole billions of dollars from thousands of people. They mentioned a, quote, lavish lifestyle that he used all of this money to fund, his celebrity friends and penthouses and beachfront properties and everything that he was doing.
Yes, folks, he was not driving a Kia. And
it's pretty funny. I'll skip ahead for this one little tidbit. He actually drove a Corolla.
Oh, sorry, Corolla. Yes. That was the facade,
Yes, it was. The Corolla that was parked in the parking garage of the $35 million apartment.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, obviously. No, the defense had asked one of the witnesses who worked at FTX if they knew what kind of car Sam drove. The witness said no. The attorney then said, well, did you ever see a Toyota Corolla around? And the judge immediately stopped the questioning and said, I think everyone's seen a Toyota Corolla. Like, this is a ridiculous line of questioning. You can't say that. Move on. So that was pretty funny.
To be fair, really like in this particular compound in Bahamas is like uber wealthy. And so like presumably
insanely wealthy.
Yeah. So like, it's not like San Francisco lots where you see Prius and Kias.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure it stuck out.
Yeah. But okay.
Anyway, so opening statements, prosecution, I think really on message for what we expected. They really honed in on Sam doing this secretly. They tried to kind of allude to him being the brains of the operation. He had all of these secret channels. He knew about these secret ways that he could funnel money from FTX through Alameda through different code loopholes, and he was the one facilitating all of it. They alluded to Caroline Ellison. They didn't actually name her, but they said that Sam's on-again, off-again girlfriend was involved, that he put her in a position of power despite personal relationships. They were really trying to paint a picture of a company that was very unstable, that Sam was completely in control over, but also that had no boundaries and protections. Mm-hmm.
Got it. And so that was the government.
That was the government.
And how's the defense statement?
I thought that they did the best they could. I mean, it's an uphill battle for them. Speaking to other people in the courtroom afterwards and stuff, people were pretty disappointed in their opening statement. But the gist of what they said was Sam was just a regular guy. His attorney said that he was just a math nerd who didn't drink and didn't party. He said that Sam had really tried to urge Caroline Ellison to hedge her bets and not be too risky, but she just didn't listen. He said that FTX was a startup. He kept saying, it just grew so quickly. He said working at a startup is like building a plane while you're flying it. And he said that a risk management system or risk management officer or department was just part of the plane that never got built at FTX. So I thought it was interesting that he called out
$40 billion startup without risk management.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, I mean, he mentioned twice, I think, that there was no risk officer, risk team, which seems strange for the defense to mention that. But yeah, the picture that I got from what he was trying to say, what he's trying to present was that Sam didn't know what was going on. He thought that, whatever channels were being used to move whatever money was something that everyone was doing and everyone was aware of. It wasn't something that he did in secret. It wasn't something that he directed people to do. Right. And the market just crashed.
Yeah. Let me put a pause on that, because do we actually, we probably have an org chart. And if you're a venture investor, you had an org chart at your disposal in these pitch decks, which are, Matt Huang, I think is going to be also called into question. Yes. And he's a witness, I guess. And so these things are under discovery. I'm pretty sure, they had a legal team, an in-house legal counsel, right? Mm-hmm. And did they just claim that they didn't have a compliance department or a risk management department? Or
that's a good question.
Because that seems like factually incorrect from everything that I know.
So you think that investors were told that they did have a risk?
I met Sam even before he built FTX, and there was a guy in there who presumably was a compliance guy. And he didn't look anything like a compliance guy that you would think, like the archetype of compliance. It was like a tattooed guy from Australia. I'm like, this guy doesn't know anything about compliance. And I come from banking. I know how compliance people look. And he didn't have a semblance of what a Chinese wall was.
Interesting. Okay, I don't.
So
if
I mean,
the
like,
government,
I don't
no,
know. This
really,
predates FTX.
No. That's something that we should all be watching for.
But usually,
Matt,
like, easily fact check that, like, you know,
yeah,
like the
well,
website, like, you know.
Yeah. No, the
Like,
government has not yet claimed that he misled investors in that way.
okay.
I imagine that they probably will. Matt is also taking the stand either late this afternoon for a little bit, if not definitely tomorrow.
For context, Matt, partner, co-founder of formerly of Sequoia, started Paradigm Internet Investing, and was part of, I think, one of the earlier rounds for FTX. Not this or super early, but they were involved fairly early on.
Yes. I imagine that he'll speak more about Sequoia's involvement, but we'll have to see what the government wants. And he's a witness for the government, I should add.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Anything... So I guess those were the opening statements. Anything else worth noting for those opening statements? Or I guess the consensus was that the defense, was pretty weak in portraying Sam as like this nerd guy. He didn't know anything was going on, and everything was doing, as a startup, and these things, Yeah,
I was speaking with an attorney after Tuesday, I guess, after opening statements, and he said that in a lot of these white collar cases, we kind of saw it with Elizabeth Holmes. The defense is either this person was so far at the top they didn't know what was going on, or this person was so far at the bottom they didn't know what was going on. And it kind of seems like his defense, Sam's defense, is taking the top approach.
I see.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Should we? I mean, where should we go next? Like, should we talk about what happened after that? Should we talk about the witnesses that are gonna,
let's
the
talk
lineup?
about witnesses.
Yeah. Okay.
So we don't know who exactly will testify. The government has to present the defense with a master list of all of the potential witnesses, and we don't know if they'll be called or not. So Sam's father and brother are both on that list, which is why they're not in the courtroom. If you are a potential witness, if you might be called to the stand, you're not allowed to watch the trial.
And so mother Barbara
his mother is there,
not a witness then, or
she's not a witness. Yes,
interesting. Okay,
she's in court. So we'll see. And I know I'm not as well versed in his parents' legal situation. I know that they have something else going on. But his mother has been in court every day. She seems fine. She's been taking notes, not really showing a super strong expression. I will say at one point today, I looked over and she had her head kind of in her hands, but she didn't last. She didn't stay in that position very long. She kind of quickly recovered.
I guess while we're at it, like this body language stuff, like Sam's there. How close are you to Sam?
Sam is there.
Maybe we should have started the episode there. Like, how close?
Yeah, no, we should have. Well, I was joking with when I asked your producer about coming on the show. I was like, I am the closest thing you have to Sam Bankman-Fried right now. So that's what I got. I'm about 3 rows behind him.
I wouldn't lead with that in normal conversations, but for the purposes of this podcast, it's fantastic.
Yes. Outside of this world,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. So how close are like you're 20? 20 feet?
Yeah, I'm maybe 10, 15 feet.
Wow. I heard that he looked thinner, but he still had his like scruffy kind of like disorganized look to him, per usual.
Yes.
Is that true?
Definitely thinner. I haven't seen him in person in probably a year and a half, so it is kind of hard to tell, but definitely thinner. He looks really, really pale. I don't know if that's something that's new or something that he's always been. He did get a haircut. I'm sure you saw that. That was very big news. The haircut actually, a fellow inmate gave it to him ahead of court. So his defense wanted us to know that.
Wait, what was that?
His defense actually leaked that to another reporter.
That who gave him a haircut?
A fellow inmate.
Oh, I see.
And they also mentioned, so he's wearing a suit and a tie. People were concerned about that, given his typical wardrobe. But he is wearing a suit and tie. It looks a little oversized. I don't know if it's because he lost weight. I imagine it's strategic on the defense's side. I think everything at this point is strategic. They're trying to make him look, frail or innocent or whatever it is. There's a lot that goes into that. But his defense team also mentioned that he bought the suit at Macy's and it was 40% off. So he is not the luxury
Yeah, no, this is not a Brunello Cucinelli suit, folks. But who knows? Maybe it's 40% off, and it's still pretty expensive.
Who knows?
Nothing. Can't.
Yeah, but he looks the same, other than those physical changes. Mm-hmm. He is allowed to use a computer during the trial, so he has a privacy screen over it, obviously, so we can't see what he's typing, but he's typing a lot during the case. He will look over at the jury. He, for the most part, watches the witness on the stand. He'll kind of lean over, and he's sitting with his whole counsel. They're at a big table, so he'll kind of lean over and speak with different attorneys at different times. But so far, he has really not shown any emotion.
Got it. Okay. He at one point will be on the stand, but that will happen much later. We don't
know.
Oh, we don't know.
Probably. If I had to put money on it, I think he will testify.
That's up to his team to assess, right? He, as you said earlier, they don't have to do anything here.
You're right.
But the government can list him as a witness, and so he has to?
No. So the decision actually is solely up to Sam.
I see.
His attorneys probably do not want him to take the stand, and they're probably advising him against it. But at the end of the day, Sam makes the choice, and he can tell the judge, I want to be put on the stand. The government cannot call him as a witness. It's part of the Fifth Amendment. You can't testify against yourself, that kind of thing. He can't be forced. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So he can't be forced to, but he can choose to. And given what we know about him, I really think that he's going to choose to, but we'll have to see. So that won't happen until the prosecution's case rests. So they'll go through all of their witnesses. I think it's expected to take at least a couple more weeks. And then at the end of that, Sam might have the opportunity, or he will have the opportunity.
He will have the opportunity to take the stand. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. We don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, you know him. I feel like he's...
Well, I don't know him that well. I just had one meeting with him. I was on several podcasts with him. My first interaction with him was at his offices in Hong Kong when it was just Alameda. Okay. And Alameda was just this no name, but he claimed to be one of the largest trading shops. This was in 2019. And I was on my way to the Binance conference. And then he said, I want to build an exchange. And I said, well, you have a fund. You're building an exchange. There needs to be a clear division there. And he was claiming to make these wild, hugely profitable. And if people remember, the Alameda deck raised a whole set of red flags, guaranteed, whenever you're in finance or investing and you hear there's guaranteed returns, just run away, run as far as you physically can. Don't ever look back. It's just not, it's a scam.
Right.
And I saw that and it was and the terms were egregious. It was worse than Rentec. It was we can make all this money and we'll just give you guaranteed 11 or 12% on your capital. I was like, well, I want to a traditional hedge fund model is 220, charge me 2% management fee and 20%, take 20% of the profits. And I want to participate in the upside. Why are you capping it at 11%? But it's guaranteed. So it's and I was like, okay, all this seems really strange. And then he built FTX, he said, I want to build an exchange. And he built it. And then it was I didn't hear from him afterwards because I didn't end up investing in Alameda. The fund.
You knew you were onto him. You could have been a witness.
I mean, sure. But I had, it was his usual demeanor. It was the bean bags, right? The bean bags, the office was, there was maybe less than 10 people in this office.
And this was in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Yeah. Hong Kong.
Okay.
Financial district, some swanky office, but it was all empty. And he had the gaming chair, everything you've seen in him, it was like that. He portrayed himself as, hugely profitable. He had done very well at Jane Street and then saw this huge inefficiency in crypto and then moved over and but
he was pretty young at this point. He was 26, 27?
Probably younger than that. He looked young. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the red flag was the deck, the guaranteed returns, and then the idea that he didn't really seem to understand that when you have a fund and you have an exchange, you have clients' money, you can't front, there needs to be a clear division, right?
Right.
And when I asked him that, he was just he seemed like he didn't know about that. And he looks over to the compliance guy or whoever is in charge of it. And I was like, okay.
Guy he hired.
It was tattooed guy from Australia. I'm like, sure. Yeah, no, probably not. I come from JP Morgan. How compliance people like no disrespect, but yeah, not like that.
It's so funny.
Anyways, and then I was with a few I was in a few podcasts with him, like on, I think it was like Kobe's podcast, was it Ope Only? And he was hugely critical of DeFi. And so we always kind of, I never, there was like very heated discussions because he was not a very big proponent of DeFi, and, admittedly. Yeah. So anyways, that's an aside. So what has happened after? So like, yeah, that was my only interaction with him.
I've only interviewed him a couple of times, and obviously it was before I haven't talked to him in over a year. So my perspective might be a little bit skewed, but given what I know about him and given his demeanor and his energy, I feel like he is going to want to take the stand. I really think he just genuinely thinks that he can schmooze his way out of this, Yeah,
wear a t-shirt and like, or a turtleneck on Elizabeth Holmes. I'm curious. So what has happened after? So that was Tuesday. There were Thursday. So what has happened?
Yes, jury selection and opening statements wrapped Wednesday. And then we had our first witness.
This episode is brought to you by Chronicle Protocol, the best on-chain source for cost-efficient, verifiable data. For anyone who listens to Empire a lot, you know that we talk a lot about MakerDAO. Well, Chronicle Protocol is this novel Oracle solution that has exclusively secured over 10 billion in assets for Maker and its ecosystem since 2017. And for the first time ever, super excited to share here that Chronicle's Oracle service is now publicly available for anyone to use. Compared to using other Oracle services, Chronicle offers a 60% reduction in gas fees. They have an unparalleled level of transparency at Chronicle. They offer a dashboard that allows anyone to track the genesis and trajectory of the data it provides, marking this milestone in on-chain data availability. Chronicle is endorsed by a network of the most revered validators, including Etherscan, Infura, Gitcoin, DYDX, and MakerDAO. It is time for a paradigm shift in Oracle development, a future where data is verifiable, operational costs are contained, and the possibilities are immense. You can learn more about Chronicle at chroniclelabs.org. That is chroniclelabs.org. This episode is brought to you by Toku. Toku makes implementing global token compensation and incentive awards simple. With Toku, you get unmatched tax and legal support to grant and administer your global team's tokens. From easy-to-use token grant award templates through token vesting to managing tax withholdings, Toku understands every grant structure: token purchase agreements, restricted token awards, restricted token units, token options, token appreciation rights, and even phantom tokens. For legal, finance, and HR teams, it is a huge, complex task to have to comply with global regulations around compensating people with tokens, not to mention the payroll, tax obligations, tax reporting in every country that you employ someone. It is difficult, time-consuming, manual, and costly, and it is drawing more and more attention from regulators and governments. Toku makes this simple for leading teams across the space: Protocol Labs, DYDX Foundation, Mina Foundation, Hedera, Gnosis, Safe, Gitcoin, and a lot more. Reach out to Toku at toku.com/empire or click the link in the description.
The government called a French man who lives in London, he's a commodities trader, who says that he lost like between 140 and 150,000 USD on FTX. He was unable to withdraw it. That was
like a lot of people. I'm curious why this guy's special.
Yeah, so I thought it was an interesting choice. I did not think that they would start with a victim. Some people did. I've heard a lot of mixed, hindsight's 2020 also. I've heard a lot of mixed theories about who they would start with. I really did not expect it to be a victim. I just don't.
But why not though? I'm curious.
I kind of thought that they would start maybe with a fellow employee. I thought they would start broader. Like, here is how it all went down. You know, a big picture of this.
Why not go straight for the jugular? Like, hey, this guy lost.
You're right. No, again, hindsight's 2020. I think a victim made sense, but I don't think they picked the best victim.
Why is that?
And I don't. He's this French guy. He trades cocoa bean commodities.
Coco's been on a tear. So he has like a thick, like French accent. Is it? I don't know. Like I've traded the FTX and is it like I lost 150,000 and no idea. Like Okay.
I trusted Sam. Yeah, I won't imitate the accent,
okay.
But so he's this French guy. He lives in London. He trades commodities. He's talking about trading commodities. I don't really think the jury understands what he's talking about. And then he says that he put 100,000 Great British pounds into crypto, and he had that money available immediately for him to invest. And again, I don't want to be judgmental of anyone on the jury. I don't think that is really connecting with them. I don't think
that's a lot of money. I mean, for like the average salaries.
I don't think
it's
relatable. And
I
relatable.
Think that I'm sure he's using a lot of like financial jargon that they're like, they don't even know what Alameda and FTX.
Exactly. Exactly. And he's talking about being a commodities trader. He was allowed to invest in crypto because of the disclosure requirements with his company. If you don't work in finance and you're just, there's a woman on the jury, she's 22 years old. She works at a grocery store and lives with her parents. Like, she doesn't know what you're talking about. And at the end of the day, it's the jury that has to.
I mean, as far as victims goes, I'm like, I don't know.
It was an interesting choice. It was an interesting choice.
I'm sure there's
I'll try not to pass too much judgment on it. But that was witness number one.
Okay.
And the government really tried to focus on, they actually showed the Larry David Super Bowl commercial. Oh, yeah. They showed a Tom Brady commercial. Mm-hmm. And they showed all these things to kind of say that, here's this man, this French man with all this money that trusted Sam because of his marketing strategy and because of his presence on social media and because he was taking photos with Bill Clinton. So that was the gist of that. The next witness was a little bit more exciting. Former employee, former bestie with Sam Bankman-Fried. They met at MIT.
Yes.
They lived together. Yedidia. Mm-hmm. Adam Yedidia.
And then he was hired, right?
What's that?
They went to MIT, and then I think they knew each other, and then he was hired. Sam.
Yeah, so they met at MIT. They lived together, and then he actually was an intern at Alameda for only about 2 months. And then Adam, the witness, went and got his PhD and then came to work at FTX as a developer.
Got it.
So he was with FTX, I think, from like October 2021 until November 2022. Yeah. Obviously, he did not work past that. No. And the big bombshell from him was he was granted immunity. So he was actually subpoenaed by the prosecution immediately in November, December, right when this is all going down. They're investigating Sam. They think crimes have been committed. Adam gets subpoenaed and he agrees to cooperate. I'll say in exchange for immunity, the government is very, very clear that it's not a deal. He's not just saying what the prosecution needs in exchange for no jail time. The prosecution is very clear that he's not lying under oath. He's saying the truth. And in exchange for cooperation, he is not going to face any jail time, which is different than Ellison and Gary and some of the others.
Who, different from this case, they potentially
pled guilty. So Caroline and Gary have pled guilty. They have not been sentenced yet, but they will face something.
Reduced. But the gist there is some reduced.
Yes. The idea of you take a plea deal, you agree to cooperate,
and instead of being 117 years, it's
exactly
20 or something.
Exactly.
And this includes
who knows what they'll get.
Who knows what they'll get? Yeah, but this includes Caroline Ellison.
Yes.
Right. Includes Ryan Salame.
Yes, Ryan, Gary Wong, and
Gary's the co-founder.
Yes.
Ryan, I think, was the CEO of FTX International, right?
I believe so.
Or something, yeah. And then Caroline. Where is
Nishad?
Nishad, the co-founder.
Yeah.
Where is Sam Trabucco in all of this?
It's a good question.
Because this is like people remember Sam was this like trader at FTX, and he used to put these like epic like tweet threads where he was like, we made all this money. Like whenever there was like some week with like crazy volatility, he would like do a postmortem of the hugely profitable trade that Alameda
Yeah.
did. And then he quietly, like abruptly quit. I think it was co-CEO with Caroline, abruptly quit before. And then like, he was like, I'm going to buy a boat and sail into the sunset. And then like, that's all we.
When did he quit? Pre bankruptcy?
Oh yeah. This was.
Yeah.
This was probably a yellow flag that people like. Obviously, in hindsight, it was like, okay, why is he quitting? But yeah, this was a few months. I don't recall exactly when he quit, but this was before everything like started.
Like a Brett Harrison quit FTX US. I think.
Yeah, I think it was around that time.
August. Okay, yeah.
Around that time. It was in the summer. Yeah. What's his role? Do you know what role he's going to Trabuco, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Is he a witness?
He might be. We don't know. We don't know.
I gotta believe that he's going to be like, he was just a super important role.
I do too. I'm sure he's on the list. But I cannot confirm. He hasn't been in court, so
right.
Yeah. Could mean something. But yeah, so just to kind of give everyone like a general idea, there's no like schedule for the trial. It's just trial. So right now the prosecution is in the process of presenting their case. They have been cooperating with the defense in that they're giving them a little bit of heads up on who they're calling to the stand. So on Wednesday, I believe they told us that the next witnesses would be Matt and Gary, who we'll hear from today, tomorrow, potentially also next week, just depending on how long it takes. We don't know who's after that yet. Mm-hmm. They'll probably tell us tomorrow, or maybe there's no court on Monday. Maybe on Tuesday, they'll tell us who we can expect after that. But it's not like, oh, today, Caroline Ellison's next Thursday. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah, but you have like a day's notice, if you will.
We generally have a day or two's notice. Also, the prosecution confirmed that Caroline will be testifying, which should be a shock to no one, but she will be. So we'll be waiting for her.
So from now for the couple of weeks, it's just going to be witnesses?
Yes. Yes. And I want to go back to Adam. So he's the former friend. He was a developer at FTX. He said that he was aware that the bank account that FTX customers used to wire money into their own trading accounts, if they opted to fund their account via wire transfer, that account was owned by Alameda.
That was under Alameda's name. Like if you wired money to FTX, it was going through Silvergate, Alameda's account.
Yes. And he said that he knew that for a long time, many months. And that was kind of where the prosecution started. I think they lost the jury a little bit on this next part. So Adam became aware. So basically, the money goes to Alameda. Alameda controls the money of FTX customers. Internally at FTX, they had a system to track how much that liability was. So in theory, it was the amount of deposits minus the amount of fulfilled withdrawals. How much money does FTX, collectively owe FTX customers? There was a bug, apparently, that Adam discovered. It said that the liability was $16 billion, and in reality, it was really $8 billion. So Adam was tasked with fixing this bug in the code of this system that tracked the deposits, tracked the liability, the debt of Alameda to FTX customers.
It was being overstated by 2x.
It was being overstated by 2x. Yeah, it was double what it should have been. Unsure why, but basically the reason why prosecution brings all of this in, and like I said, it was confusing. I think that they really lost the jury. They're talking about code and bugs and accounts, and the jury was completely lost. One woman actually fell asleep. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, so prosecution said all of this to establish the fact that Adam, as a developer, probably would not have had a lot of access to the financial statements. It just wasn't his part of the business. But because he fixed this bug, he knew 100% that Alameda owed $8 billion to FTX customers. That was something that he knew for certain and that he had firsthand knowledge of. So he said that after he discovered that the liability was post-bug fix, in reality, $8 billion, he went to Sam. He said, I'm concerned about this. It seems too high. Can Alameda pay it? And Sam, I want to look at my notes so I make sure I get the quote right. Sam said that last year we were bulletproof, but not this year. And he did not explain what bulletproof meant. Adam did not ask. Adam said, how long until we are bulletproof again? And Sam said 6 months to 3 years. And to put this in a time frame for everyone, Sam said this in July 2022. So roughly like 4 months before the November 2022 collapse. Adam then said that he received a phone call in November from a fellow FTX employee, someone named Lila. And she told him that someone had told her that Alameda used FTX customer funds to repay their creditors. And that is why he quit. So that was the long-winded story of his testimony. The government, they have screenshots from some Signal messages. They use those. They put those into evidence, which was pretty funny. Sam obviously had instructed all of his employees to only use Signal. They had auto-delete installed. Allegedly, he said that he wanted to keep these messages away from regulators. All in all, this witness, it's looking bad for Sam.
How did they get the signal? Like if it was auto-delete, someone was taking screenshots?
Someone must have taken screenshots, yeah. Presumably Adam, but they didn't actually confirm that.
Because a lot of people are like, wait, does Signal have a backdoor?
No, everyone rest assured.
This also came in the is also relevant for Binance case because they can also have
is. It is.
So, anyways, puts into question Signal.
Yeah, and the government mentioned several times that the only reason that they have evidence of these messages is because someone did take a screenshot.
Someone did take screenshots.
Yes, they confirmed that. Which, you know,
someone in there was saying, I want to keep these for leverage, or something's going wrong. I need to document this, and like would be a whistleblower.
Exactly.
And okay.
Yeah. So it's now part of
public
evidence.
Record.
Yeah, public record. It's all there.
Anything interesting or juicy in those Signal screenshots?
It was funny. There was a Signal group chat with everyone that lived in the penthouse.
In the compound, yeah.
So Adam lived there with Sam and Caroline and Gary, and I think there were like 10 of them total. There were a lot of stories that came out later about things that happened in that penthouse. There was a group chat of them, and they were talking about paying rent, which I thought was funny. I didn't realize that they actually did pay rent. I thought that Alameda had purchased it on behalf of
Wasn't that
Sam.
the case?
So Sam basically gave people an opportunity to get some financial exposure, he called it, and pay rent. Or maybe he was asking them if, it could eventually lead to like equity in the condo or something. But no, people did not have to pay rent to live there.
Sounds like a frat house, but yeah.
It does. Well, it's funny that so then the defense, it's their opportunity to cross-examine, and Sam's lawyer looks at Adam and says, well, that apartment was just like living in a dorm, right? And Adam's like, well, not really. It was communal living, whatever.
Not exactly your MIT dorm room, folks. But.
Not exactly your MIT dorm room, yeah. I mean, they showed photos. So many photos of the penthouse have been entered into evidence. I mean, it's beautiful. So it's nothing like a dorm.
Definitely not my taste in terms of there's some things there, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. There's several things about the situation that would not appeal to me in a living situation, but not comparable to a college dorm.
Definitely not. Okay. Anything else noteworthy from this particular witness?
Yeah, I think that the big thing is, he's confirming that
Sam knew. Had exact knowledge that there was a hole. Exactly. Because he also said that they would take up to 6 to 3 years that there was a hole. And then if you actually go back, and I'm thinking of those threads that Sam, was posting while all this was going down when CZ exposed them, and like he said, "Hey, look, we're whole."
Were also entered into evidence.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a lot of those tweets that I remember reading is that like we're whole, like we'll be like we have it. I think he claimed at one point that there was no like asset liability mismatch. They had, and I think there's something in particular he said I think he said that the lawyers. He claimed at one point that the lawyers had advised him to like go into like claim like file for Chapter 11, but had they not done that, and in 72 hours, like the situation would have been remedied. And I was like, clearly not the case. If there's an $8 billion hole, that's gonna, because now he's saying it's gonna take 3 to 6 months. 6 months to 3 years? That doesn't exactly sound like a 72-hour situation.
Range. That's a massive
range.
Well,
it probably depends on like like crypto markets at the time. Crypto markets were post Terra, like this. It's pretty gnarly. So, interesting.
The other thing I'll add that witness mentioned around the time where they're talking about not being bulletproof and needing 6 months to 3 years to kind of recover, Sam allegedly told Adam that he was in talks with raising money from Saudi Arabia or the UAE. So there was apparently a frantic attempt to.
Yeah, I think there were some rumors around that.
I feel like we had heard about that.
There was like a sovereign wealth fund, maybe in the Middle East, that would maybe bail them out.
Right. So that's now been confirmed that was a last resort plan that he was working on. Yeah.
Interesting. So that was it. Any other? After that, no other witnesses.
So, yeah, I mean, then it's just a little bit of legal fun. It goes into cross-examination. I think I said this at the beginning, and we all know Sam's attorneys they have a very hard job. I'd imagine that they're probably spending a lot of time already working on an appeal, just because it seems so unlikely that he's not found guilty, at least on some counts. So their cross-examination was, to be honest, was pretty hard to watch.
Really?
There just wasn't, the attorney just he couldn't do it. He kept asking questions that were perceived as leading. So then you've probably seen this on TV. There's objection. Yeah. And the judge sustains it, and the lawyer has to kind of regroup and reframe. I think there were like 3 times where he paused the questioning to go over and like whisper with Sam and the other attorneys, and then kind of regroup and come back. It's not a great look. He had this massive binder up on the podium with him. He's like flipping through all these pages just frantically. Whereas the prosecutor comes up with no notes. Her hands are like behind her back. Yeah, she's perfectly composed and relaxed.
I want to double click on who is. Do we have any knowledge on who these people are? Like who's on both sides?
Yeah, so the prosecution they're representing Damian Williams' office. So he's the attorney general. Damian was actually there on.
Damian Williams has been the high profile Southern District of New York, like behind pretty much all the major clampdowns in crypto that you've seen. Yes.
And he's done, it's not often that he's in the courtroom, although he was in the courtroom on Wednesday. Right. He's doing all the press conferences. Anytime you see a statement from office, it's from him. Yeah. So he's the top guy. So the main prosecutor on that case representing Damian Williams is Sassoon. That's her last name.
Okay.
Her first name's escaping me. And like I said, she's good. She's composed. Obviously, these are all of her witnesses. So they've been prepped with her for weeks. I think Adam, the second witness, Sam's former friend, he met with the prosecution like 8 times, just really nailing everything down. So yeah, I mean, it's their show. They have the burden of proof. It's their chance to prove it to the jury.
Because they have the burden of proof, they have access to the witnesses ahead of time. They can prep them, but the defense does not, or they don't have as much time or access to the witnesses.
Yeah. So the defense, the defense did not have an opportunity to cross-examine Adam.
Yeah. Right.
If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, exactly.
So they Sam's attorney has what Sam has shared with him.
Right.
He has anything that's been entered into evidence. So like all of those screenshots from Signal, for example, he was given those ahead of time.
Right. That's presumably that huge binder that he's referencing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, there's thousands of documents.
No, I mean, it's
that have been entered
massive.
in. It's crazy.
Yeah. So they really have to scramble each and every time. They have the massive list of witnesses. So they're frantically kind of like preparing a strategy for each and every one of them, consulting with Sam.
Right.
Obviously, what is being put into evidence by the prosecutor, they have access to that. So they can see what they're seeing to then develop a strategy for each witness. But it's also, but it's a harder. They don't have the benefit of having talked to them, and so that because they have the pressure, or I guess the government needs to prove that he's guilty. So it makes sense that it's a bit lopsided like that.
Yeah. I mean, the defense, like you said, they have an idea of what the prosecution's angling for with each witness.
Yeah.
Like every witness is serving a purpose for the government. It's the defense has to be flexible,
right,
in terms of like being prepared for everyone. It's also, I mean, it's been more difficult with Sam being incarcerated for the last few months. He had his bail revoked, and he now has limited access to his attorneys. They can only see him.
Visitation rights are limited, I guess, per day.
Yeah, it's limited. He's allowed to come to the courthouse for this trial. He comes early, and he has an opportunity to meet with his counsel, but it's not the 24/7 access he was getting when he was on house arrest at his parents' place in California.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that really is like if you're the lawyer, that as you said, it really puts a greater amount of difficulty to develop a strategy if you don't have, like, it would have been way easier for them if Sam was in his parents' house.
Exactly.
Or like a hotel room. You have access to him all the time. Huh. Interesting.
They mentioned his Adderall too. It was a funny little tidbit. Apparently Sam is supposed to get 4 doses of Adderall per day.
Does he get access to stimulants?
He's court ordered, allowed 4 doses. They didn't say like the milligram amount, but 4 seems, in my personal opinion, high.
No idea. I've never taken it.
I haven't either, but it's just 4 just seems like a lot.
Yeah, I guess.
He's been given
for listeners, if you have any context or knowledge, maybe
let us know.
Love to know milligram dosage here, but please let us know.
There's a shortage too, so 4.
Right, no. I mean, there's been a shortage for years, though. I believe, Adderall shortages, feels like.
And this is now
forget about oil prices, folks. Like, there's a shortage of Adderall. The country is no longer productive. Okay, Joseph, our producer, says definitely a lot. Thank you,
4 is a lot.
4,
That's what I thought.
Is 4 is there a standard milligrams, like each tablet?
That's a good question.
Wait,
4
or 40?
Not 40.
Okay, 40 pills? No,
40 would be insane.
All right.
Yeah,
okay. Joseph has no idea what's going on.
I can't imagine that it would be lower. Oh, he says 4 is not much.
4 is not much.
I can't imagine that the dosage would be lower than 10 milligrams. I feel like that's okay. We're totally getting into speculation.
Yeah,
the point is, the judge said that he could have 4 a day.
Right, okay.
But he's only been getting 2 because he's been in court. So he's not at prison for lunchtime, I guess, which is when they would give it to him or whatever it is. So they're trying to work on that because he has not been able to focus while in the courtroom.
Okay.
His attorney said. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, if you were taking he was using that patch and whatever, and all that Adderall, and you still had a bug in the contract, and you still didn't catch $16 billion or wait, 8 or whatever it was. I'm sorry, guys, but it's really
I know the bug. They glossed over the bug. The fact that there was an issue in the code.
There's a lot of bugs in crypto, but money coming in is I'm not a developer,
and it seems like such a simple equation. You're taking the amount,
whatever comes in, that tells you exactly how much money how much, like the liability side of the house is very, very straightforward. I'm sorry.
Very straightforward.
The assets, however you're valuing these things and the illiquidity of said things and how you give a current standing value to those assets, I understand. But the liabilities, it's no, it's fairly straightforward what comes in the house.
Yeah.
Because you're using that money
to
do whatever Sam Bankman and Co. What we're doing. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Any other initial reactions from the people that were there, from different media or different?
Yeah, it's
what's the sentiment in the room?
I probably sound like a nerdy journalist, but it has actually been a lot of fun. going to conferences and stuff. A lot of us know each other. So, standing in line together and being in the courtroom, it is entertaining. The judge is pretty funny. He's had a few one-liners that have made the entire courtroom laugh. One juror during the selection process even said something that got Sam's mom to crack a smile. So the energy is high, I would say. The prosecutor today actually asked about the FTX arena that got a lot of giggles.
The Miami Heat, right? Like
Miami
Miami got
Heat.
renamed FTX, and then
yes, the defense was trying to say that Sam didn't spend a lot of money on crazy things, and he didn't have fancy cars or whatever. And then the prosecution said, "Well, what about this arena in Miami?" So that was pretty funny. But yeah, the energy's been good. There have been a few just regular people, just members of the public that want to come and watch. There's been a lot of attorneys in the audience. I sat next to a woman yesterday who is an attorney for one of the witnesses. She obviously wouldn't tell me who, but if her client gets called, then I guess we'll know. A lot of the clerks that work in the courthouse and the building for other judges, I mean, the line to get into the courtroom was just insane. All of the clerks wanted to watch it. They want to see the opening statements. It's drawing a lot of interest, not just from the Blockworks reporter and other crypto media.
I would think you think you're going to have to wake up like at 4:20, in the morning for the next month? Or do you think the interest is going to you do?
No, that's a good question. I do. I think the interest probably, it has to die down a little bit.
Unless there's a very special witness, like when Caroline or Matt, high profile people get called, sure, get there early. But if it's just random.
Yeah, I mean, for my sake, I really hope it dies down. But trial.
Are they serving coffee inside? How do you how long?
They are serving coffee. Honestly, food is a bigger issue. You're not allowed to eat in the courtroom, and there's no time for eating. So
and you're there for 4 in the morning. It's 5 in the morning and you leave at noon or so.
It wraps around. Today I left a little bit early, but it wraps around 4:30 every day.
PM.
PM. So there's an hour lunch break.
Okay, so you're allowed to. If you go out, you still have you save your place.
So your spot gets saved. So your seat in the courtroom gets saved, which is great. But so you leave the courtroom. You can run downstairs. You can't bring your phones in and your computer. You have to check that. So you retrieve your phone and computer. You have to leave the courthouse. You have to walk outside to turn on your phone. So then that's when all the journalists are out there sending their tweets and writing stories and everything. And then you go back in.
So you're really not eating during that hour. You're
not eating during that hour.
Reporting back to headquarters.
Reporting back. Quite literally reporting back. Yeah. But no, it has been fun, and trial it's only 4 days a week, every week. So it's either Monday or Friday.
Job. No, I mean, most people now work from home, so that's full time for all intents and purposes.
Honestly, yeah, it's getting dressed every day. I'm not used to this, but no, it's been good. It's been good. We'll see. Like you said, I think when Caroline testifies and everything, it'll probably be another circus, but it's never a dull day. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to come.
Can they? I mean. What happens if they call ZZ as a witness? Is he in the witness list?
CZ?
Yeah.
He was not named.
I mean, good luck trying to get him in the courtroom, but I don't think he's going to show up.
Yeah, we'd have to ask an attorney this. I don't know what the deal is about testifying if you yourself are also.
I mean, for context, folks, CZ was probably the guy that they were invested. So Binance was an investor in FTX. They had a huge amount of FTT tokens, and then CZ was really the guy that tripped this up. And then CoinDesk reported it, and then everything kind of unraveled after that. But CZ knew. I've heard really crazy stories. I've heard some stories about how CZ got actually ended up knowing. I mean, but he was as an investor, he had and Binance, Intel, whatever, on-chain analytics or whatever they knew. And he really tripped us up. So, I mean, he's a good win. And then they try to acquire. There was a whole back and forth between them getting involved, buying, and FTX. And then they dropped out. And so it was, I mean, he could be a witness, but.
Oh, it sounds like he'd be a perfect witness.
But I don't think he's going to show up.
He was not. So they list to the jury, they give them a massive laundry list of every name, company, entity, et cetera, that could even be mentioned during trial. And he was not on that list. I'll have to double check the transcript. But
Was Binance on that list?
Binance was, I do believe.
Okay.
I'll have to double check the transcript. I'm pretty sure he was not on that list. Okay. But also I'm curious what the legal opinion is on testifying if you're also going through an investigation.
Yeah, there's a.
So I don't know if they can. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like it might be a issue with
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna want to enter the United States anytime soon, given everything that's going on. Right. Excellent. Okay. Well, is there anything else that we haven't covered that we should?
I don't think so. I'm sure everyone's been following this on Twitter, but
yeah, there'll
be a lot more updates to come. Some early mornings for us, and
gosh, yeah. 4:20 in the morning. I mean,
send snacks to.
Yeah. Please, folks. Southern District of New York. Go and
and if you want to try to make $500, then come early and try to get a photo of Mark Cohen, Sam's attorney.
There we go.
There you go.
It's a lot. Well, great. I mean, this has been illuminating. Just I've again, this is the real suits, but what happens in courtrooms.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. I know a lot of it is definitely boring and
no, I mean, it wasn't boring. It was just this is really
good.
Interesting. The procedures and the witnesses and whatnot, and just kind of the sentiment and the interpretation of the different people in the room and how they're assessing kind of the strategy and whatnot. So Michael Lewis, presumably he wasn't in the courtroom and
he was not in the courtroom. This is actually pretty funny. He was not there.
Okay.
And he's not a witness.
He spent a lot of time with Sam.
He spent a lot of time. He will tell you.
Could be a witness. I mean, he could be a witness for us.
No, reasonably speaking, I think he would make sense, but he's, as far as I know, he's not. I will say though, so the journalists, the book came out on Tuesday, which is when the trial started. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's reading reviews. Zeke Falk, who is a Bloomberg journalist, he wrote I don't want to say competing story, but he also wrote a book about SBF that came out pretty recently. He was there. Everyone's talking about Michael Lewis. To be honest, everyone's kind of shitting on Michael Lewis. Little did we know that someone who works with a podcast he does or works on a podcast that he's involved with or something was there. So watch what you say, even if you think you're among
or not to be ruthlessly transparent, but no.
No, she was very understanding. I mean, I think the 60 Minutes story was just so poorly done. I haven't read the book yet, so I won't pass judgment on that, but I have read some reviews and it seems unfortunate.
What I heard was that it's sort of like him trying to save face, because how do you spend so much time with a guy and have the inside look and didn't pick up the fact that he was how do you justify having spent all this time?
And he didn't even ask.
And
he didn't say let me, it's one thing if he said, show me a financial document. And then later we found out that it was falsified or something, but he didn't even ask. He never even reached out to Binance. So obviously in the midst of him following Sam around and writing the story, everything blew up. As a journalist, as part of your reporting, part of that should be reaching out to CZ and say, what happened? What's your side of the story? I saw one side. He never did that
ignorance
at all. He saw no need to, he said. So it just seems very short-sighted. And
sounds like someone paid him a bunch of money in FTT tokens to write this book. And then, seriously. Journalism integrity.
Yeah. So
awesome.
We'll
Casey, I don't want to keep you here longer because you probably need to catch up on sleep and a bunch of other things. Thank you for coming on. I think it's been very illuminating. I think our listeners would love it. We'll probably going to have you on down the road as these things progress.
6 weeks long. Got so much more content.
I think I saw that you were preparing for the New York Marathon.
I am running the New York Marathon. Yeah, that's.
I am running it too, by the way, but I don't need to wake up at 4:20 in the morning each day.
Yeah. Having the trial the 4 weeks before the marathon, it's a bummer, but I think it'll be okay. I think so. I've done 20 miles.
Okay.
I was going to do it again. Yeah.
Is this your first marathon?
It is not. I've done my third marathon. No, fourth marathon, third New York marathon.
Nice.
What about you?
this is going to be my 5th New York, and I've done like 8 now.
It's New
York is the best in my mind.
So great.
In my humble
it's
opinion.
So great.
In New York.
Yeah, I don't think living here and not running it.
Like when you cross the bridge into Manhattan and get to First Avenue, like that feeling alone, you're hearing the people like halfway through the bridge. Like there are very few moments.
Your headphones.
Yeah. There are very few moments where I felt that kind of electricity, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Hopefully, we have good weather.
Hopefully, we never know. That's what makes New York, New York.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, good luck with training. And
thank you. You too.
Yeah. And I guess we'll see, running.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Thanks. Well, thanks everyone for listening. If you want to learn more about the trial and other details around that, please drop us a comment on Twitter or YouTube, and we'll try to have Casey back so you can report.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.